Welcome to the Oyster Aero PearlCast, where we sit down with founders and leaders shaping the aviation industry, from freshly formed startups to the biggest names in the sky. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Turbo Resources in Phoenix, Arizona, now operating in 450,000 square feet of state-of-the-art warehouse space. Turbo continues to keep the aviation industry flying and is actively buying material. Now, we hope you enjoy this episode.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Jeff Yergi with the Oyster Aero PearlCast, and today we have my friend, aviation legend, and colleague, Robert Bial. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Jeff. Thanks very much for that very, very proper introduction. So,
Of course.
legend. Yeah, I guess whatever. Is that a live
Yeah.
long enough and you become a legend, or?
I think that's how it works. I think I'm half a legend so far, but
You're young. You have time.
No, I wouldn't say that young, but so I'm working my way there. Um, Airflight Aerospace is your latest venture, right?
It is. It is.
Okay. But let's talk a little bit about what got you up to there. I like to do, tell me about how you got in aviation, a little bit of that.
You got it. You got it. And all kidding aside, thank you for having me on your podcast, because I know I've got some very big shoes. The Neilman interview was amazing, and all of them were, Abdul, but I appreciate. I'm humbled that I would even be in their shadows. But and all that you've been doing at Oyster, you and I became acquainted at Airports Now, but we can get into that later. What got me in aviation? Birth got me in aviation. My father immigrated to the United States in 1948 from Argentina. Spoke no English, and within a few years, took some college classes, but got a job at the Argentine embassy in the 1950s buying aircraft parts. And boom, he had a profession. And really never looked back. He moved around from smaller companies, both in New York and California, but ultimately settled in New York and went to work for um, what at the time was called Mars Radio, but it was a division of AAR, Allen Aircraft Radio. So my dad started with them in the mid 1960s, and he was promoted around and about in New York, and then ultimately was promoted to senior vice president of sales. I was, I don't know, 10, 8, something like that, and we moved to Chicago. So my dad was at AR into 1976, I think, is when he left. But I used to go, and he went in every Saturday, and I went in every Saturday with him, and wander around the halls of AR when it was in Elk Grove Village. They had a radio shop. I used to go in there and kind of break things. And it fascinated me. It certainly did. And my dad was in sales, traveled extensively the world, and that fascinated me as well. And in 1976, he and two other partners left AAR and started a company by the name of Solair, which was initially in Chicago, but then moved to Florida. There are a lot of what we call Solarians. Solair spun off, just like AAR did and
Yep.
does. There were a lot of spin-offs from Solair, and a lot of my close friends that I made along the way worked together back then. We called it Solair University, but they were kind of the initial inventor, I would say, of the exchange program. When my dad first entered the industry, airlines didn't even take used material. Everything was
Right.
new.
Right.
And then eventually they would start to take OEM tags, and the overhaul world was born. But there was nobody really out there doing the exchange business until Solair really kind of perfected it, and how that would work. And they also were the kind of early adopters of aircraft teardown. At the time, there were no retiring aircraft. It was all incident related, which
Yep.
is kind of persona non grata now. But back in the day, it was it was the only way you'd get some equipment. And we worked on some big ones. There was a 737-400 that went into the water in New York brand new airplane, and we bought it, dismantled it, and started sending the parts out for overhaul, and noted what it was, but manufacturers were tagging this stuff as warranty. That's how new this stuff was, and that's how that part of the business. Now it's all aging aircraft that gets dismantled. But so I joined the company. My dad sold the business in 1985 to Banner Aerospace. Banner, in its heyday, was a public company with 17 subsidiaries, north of a couple of $1 billion in sales. But I joined the company after it had been sold, right out of college, and that's where my story began, was there. Although I worked some afternoons in high school receiving inventories and things like that, but really kind of buckled down and entered the industry at that point, and it fascinated me. I mean, I'm an operations guy. I'm also OCD, which I'll now call Lean Six Sigma, and I was fascinated by the process of the business, and really dug my heels in, and was promoted through that business up to vice president of operations, running basically all our warehouses around the world, as well as our main facility here in Fort Lauderdale. Banner acquired a small repair station up in Central Florida, and offered me the opportunity to run it. So I was 34 years old, had young kids, and I'm like, I'll move to Disney World for a couple of years and see how it goes. And I moved up there. Professional Aircraft was the name of the company. It was a turnaround job, but I had a great team of people around me, friends to this day. Actually, one of them is working here with me at Airflight now, and took that one on a nice long run. We were doing about $3 million a year, losing money with 20 people. And by the end of my tenure, which was 15 years later, we were the largest aftermarket regional airline landing gear shop probably in the world. 250 employees, doing close to 50 million a year, and had a blast doing it. The folks at Banner were great to work with. I have many mentors in my life, but many of them came out of that organization, and that taught me both right and wrong. You have good mentors and bad mentors.
Sure.
You learn from the bad bosses. I'm sure Jeff, and we could probably share some horror stories. But what to do, what not to do, how to treat people, and which has been key throughout my career, is that I'm never, as you can attest to, I'm never the smartest guy in the room, but I am a
Right.
good. Did you say right? You just said right to them.
Oh, well, I had to affirm that.
But I enjoy being a part of the process. A collaborative manager is really the best way to describe what I do. Open
Right.
communication, get departments talking to each other, and learn from that's how we've always done it, being a problem, to, hey, maybe if we turn it around this way, there's actually a better way to do it. And that's my sweet spot. It's what I enjoy most. As part of my opportunities at Banner, mergers and acquisitions became something I absolutely love doing. I was part of the team that would do the diligence, go in and do our inspections and our audits, but start to look at the opportunities that were afforded us by acquiring some companies and making them part of, fitting them both a vertical integration, which makes sense, but organically growing your brand simply by buying competitors or additional product lines.
Yep.
And so I really enjoy doing that. Actually, that's part of my present day story as well. But along the road, I looked at a small airline in Texas to buy for. At that point, we had been sold. Banner had sold us to Greenwich Aero Group. And I looked at a small airline in Texas to acquire. It was a military airlift, and did some on-demand cargo. Hit it off with the management team, and this is where I'm a bad buyer and a bad consultant, because I started to talk about all the things they could do with that. It was more my mind working. What can we do once we acquire it? But I got them so excited that they ended up pulling it from the market, and then started making me offers to go work for them. And it was about a year and a half dance back and forth that involved some equity, and I joined them with my main goal was to help them ready it for a true sale, assist in creating. It was a founder-owned business. mom and pop, so to speak, but doing very well. But some of the founder-owned processes didn't work anymore. You need to involve more people in doing a budget. You need to understand the complexities of the business. And almost 5 years to the day, the goal was 5 years. We took it on a nice long run and then sold the business in 2018 to Acorn Growth Companies, AGC. And it was a great deal, great people at Acorn, but I was at a stage in my career where I had done the private equity. I know the model. I love working in businesses too much to grow them and then see them be sold. So I agreed to stick around. I stayed for a year, helped him through the transition, and then in 2019 I started a holding company called Forefront Aerospace. The intent was to go after and acquire existing repair stations or invest in them. The first one out of the gate, I had some bankers and finance people with me, and lost out to Unical. Had purchased out from under me, had deeper pockets, obviously, and then COVID happened, and that's where what that.
Now they're really deep with Airbus money.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But COVID happened, and that's kind of where our stories intersect, because one of the buyers that looked at Barry Aviation, which was the airline that we had sold, was Sam Simon, who owns or owned Aero Parts now. And I got reached out to, can you come on the board? We need some more aviation-minded people. I love software as a tool. I learned in the few years that we all worked together that I don't like to sell software. I can't sit through the demos and fall asleep. But it was a great product. One of the things they wanted me to do was find a CEO. I came across this guy, Jeff something or other, worked at ILS and Boeing, and a dear friend of mine who we were both friends with over in England, Mary Sanford, said, "Hey, this is a good guy," and that's where you and I started working together, which was a lot of fun.
Was she wrong? No, I'm just kidding. So yeah. Good.
Nah, Mary's never wrong. You know that. So
I know.
Yeah.
So
but let me get to, so that gets me to Airflight. So I did that for a couple of years, and COVID slowed down, and then I was in a situation where I wanted to get back to my roots, which is I love 145 repair stations of any place I've been. I started in distribution. I ran a 145. Then actually for Greenwich, I ran all of their 145 and distribution or redistribution holdings, and then I worked in an airline. So I basically everything together, because I stood up a repair station at the airline. So it was repair station, it was airline, it was crew, it was all of the things. And I'm like, yeah, wait, this is too far. Let me take it back down to the 145 side. And I came across Airflight. It was a small shop that was founded during COVID. And they were struggling with it, didn't know what to do with it, and I made them an offer. They accepted, and that brought me to pretty much today. That's 3 years now that we've owned it. So that's a long answer to your short question. I apologize.
Wow. That's a autobiography that's like hundreds of pages long. But it's really I mean, it's not so. I love the industry because you really started when you were 8 years old in an instrument shop, a radio shop, right? And now your boys are doing this too, right?
Yeah. So yeah, third generation has entered the industry. Both of them entered and worked elsewhere. I didn't want to torture them until they got tortured by other people. So my older son Adam started at GA Telesis. Then he worked for a couple of small shops until we brought him into both Airflight, and then kind of another little piece of my resume is I in addition to running Airflight, I do hold the position of chief operating officer for a major military redistribution company by the name of D&D Enterprises. So Adam actually works for them, kind of dabbles in Airflight. My younger son, right out of college, worked for a small FBO in Atlanta at PDK, and then applied for a job at Delta and ended up doing close to 6 years for Delta. And he didn't enjoy flying around the world and all the flight privileges, and decided he wanted to get tortured by Dad also. So Peter's now moved down. He's been down here since March, and it's been a lot of fun. I really have. It's the first time, and that's something, legacy and family is probably tantamount to anything else I do. And you and I have a mutual friend and someone we both look up to, and that's Irv Hoffman. Irv, for all of his success, the one thing I always congratulate him for is family and how important that is, and the roots of Turbo Resources. And again, I said I've had many mentors. Irv is certainly on that short list of people I've looked up to that have just done extraordinary things with their career, but also made it a part of the fabric of who they are as a family too. And I emulate that, and I'm so it's
I
some of
mean,
what we do here.
forget money and success and branding and all that. I can't imagine, and now that my boys are college age, like I can't imagine how rewarding it must be as a dad to just come into work
Yeah.
and your boys are working with you. You know, you're gonna be harder on them than you are anybody else, of course. But it's just I hope that happens. I hope I get blessed by that
Yeah.
someday
It
because I can't imagine that feeling, but it gives me goosebumps actually. So
it is very rewarding, when both of them, because we've all attended shows at the same time even before we worked together, and I can't tell you how, I don't want to say anything too great about them because they may listen to this, so I don't want to say anything
yeah,
nice,
yeah,
but
don't spoil. Never
but
mind, never
no,
mind.
no, no, no.
Work harder,
But
boys.
listen, I work for my dad, and no matter what I did, I always had to be better than anybody else, and now that I have kids working with me, I get it. You want that much more, and but it's listen, it is very rewarding, and I got good kids that do the right thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The last thing I'll say, there was a joke told the last night at the Turbo Classic, and I don't know if it's true, but if you want a 5% discount, tell Irv that you love his family and the grandkids, and then you can get that's
Is
how
that
you get
all
a
it takes, man?
discount.
I've been saying that I got to start buying. Well, we do buy
I
a
know,
lot from
right?
him. Wait a second. Well, hey,
Anyway,
listen. When I started Airflight, he was the first guy to give me open account, so it counts for
that
something. But when he
that
opened the new warehouse, I texted him, and because I saw the video and all that, and that's what I said. I said, all that amazing facility and all the trappings of all your success. The thing that always impresses me most is your family. So, but
yeah.
yeah, like I said, so. So that brings us to today. I mean, Airflight has been a kind of a labor of love. It's a little smaller than what I wanted to start with. I was looking for kind of something that was up and running, and this was up and running, but it didn't have the cash flow I was necessarily looking for. So it was more of a startup than anything else. But
Yep.
the nice thing about doing a startup is you do it the way you want it. You do it all right. And you create an environment that you want to work in. That's another really important part of my background is I work a lot of hours, and I work hard, but I like to have fun at work, and I like to be treated with respect at work, and I like to communicate with people, and creating that environment. When I moved up from Fort Lauderdale to run the shop in Titusville, I kind of came out of a Solar had been it was already sold. It had new management, kind of a different mindset. It had become very there's a lot of little clicks and backstabbing and watch your back kind of place. And listen, I navigated my way through it, but it certainly was not enjoyable by any
Sure.
shape. And when I went up to the PAA, I'm like, you know what? I want to like going to work. I want to be happy at work, and it starts with me, as president of the company, and it was showing that respect to every level and every aspect of a business is so important when you're doing anything. And that brings me here. It's like when I bought this shop, and we're in FSDO 19, which is basically a Broward and Dade County. I was at Palm Beach also, but it's the toughest FSDO because of the reputation, unfortunately, that South Florida has. In some of the bad actors in our industry, and my friends are like, "Why would you move out of FSDO 15, which was up in Orlando?" And I made the joke, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. But I wanted a bigger pool of mechanics. And they're like, oh, you'll see, they all cross, they'll cross the street for 50 cents and they all feed off each other. And I'm like, my philosophy is if you can create a nice place to work and you pay the market. I mean, you can't cheap out. It's a tough labor market when it comes to the MROs right now. You got to pay what these guys are worth. But if you give them that nice environment and you show them respect, they don't leave. And, knock wood, I have some amazing guys that have joined us from other shops down here in South Florida. And, we put a really good team of people together, headed up by Billy McLean, as I alluded to earlier. He runs the shop, and he and I work together. Actually, we started up at PAA about a month apart. So we have a long history together of knowing each other, which questions why he would want to work with me ever again. But, maybe, who knows. But, listen, Airflight's up and running. We're doing landing gear. We do the C-130 gear. We do
Yep.
hydraulics, pneumatics. We've got NDT up and running. So, it's really there now, and it's exciting to see all the new opportunities we get, both in our collaboration with D&D as well as deeper into the market on the commercial side. We do the caravan, Grand Caravan gear. That's been a nice product type for us. And, we're adding new capabilities every day, which has been great. I started with, there were 4 items on my capability list the day I got the ticket. I make that. We're like 500 now of active part numbers that we get in, which has been exciting. So
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. Wow. Um, everybody you mentioned, I mean, like even the private equity side, I mean, Acorn is one of the good ones. I mean, with Adam at Century and Canada Air Trade, I mean, they put, everybody you ran with has been a really good
Oh
pedigree.
yeah.
So
The only thing I don't like about it, I mean, and listen, the guys at Acorn were always good to me. They more so than anybody. I don't want to pick on Greenwich because I have a lot of friends there, but even more so than Greenwich, where they had a history with me. When I decided to leave, the managing partner, Rick Nagel, sat me down and really want to understand why I was doing it, and is there anything we could do for you not to? And he understood. He said, hey, what you're doing makes sense, and but that model, again, like I said earlier, the buy it and sell it. I mean, I always feel calls from headhunters, and I always listen. And about a year ago, I had a headhunter that was putting together a group of repair stations. He was buying into something, and he had the mindset that we're going to do this in 3 years. Blah blah blah. We're going to dump some money into it, and then we're going to sell it. And that just does not excite me. I find that to be, it's like getting married. It's like, yeah, I'll stick with you for 3 years, and then I'm gonna move on and find somebody else. And
yeah,
I've been
you're
married.
building a legacy for your kids and you and lots of other people. You're not interested in, flipping. So
No. And
yeah,
listen, I get it. It's an interesting model and it makes money for people, but I think ultimately it isn't necessarily good for the health of the business, because you're strictly trying to grow to sell, you have a different mindset of what you're doing
sure.
in the business.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so,
It,
but again, it's I'm not faulting it. It's a lot of people do really well doing that. It's just not maybe I'm too dumb to get on my own way, but I just love the aspects and all the excitement I get coming in here, and what's new and what can we do, and just to sell it off, it just doesn't excite me. So
yeah,
unless
that's
someone's willing to offer me a whole lot of money, and
well,
just
sure, right?
I'm not sure who this goes out to, but give me a call. So
Your strategy is not to just dress
nah,
it for sale, basically. So
no,
that is
no, no.
different. And I have to notice, I think you have pearls on the wall behind you, which
They
means you get
are
oyster for life for
that
free. So
I
there.
bought that. I saw. Oh my God, that's right up for Jeff. So that's why we hung
Thank
it
you
this we
so
hung it
much.
this
I mean,
morning, and
that's my new corporate gift at the end
oh,
of the year for all my.
well, okay, well, it's for sale. Do you want? I could.
I
Can
know,
we put
right?
it on Oyster? I could put it on Oyster Aero with a couple
It's
other parts I have and see if it sells.
it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So I guess from a wee lad in the instrument shop to watching your kids enter the industry, what do you think are some of the what's changing? You know what I mean? And I mean, I'm not even going to preempt it with some things in my head, but what do you think the next generation of parts trading, MROs, aftermarket
Well,
looks like?
I can answer that question in 2 ways, because there are 2 parts to that. But the first part is, I'm a dinosaur. I'm used to brute strength, roll your sleeves up, get the work done. Work-life balance. What does that mean? Listen,
Sure.
I'll balance things while I'm at work. But and I will say, my father passed away this past Friday. It was 25 years since my dad passed away, and my
Wow.
father, he saw the stress in me when I was turning around PAA, and he said to me something that unfortunately rang very true about 4 months later. And he said, "Don't make the mistakes that I made. When you're taking your last breath, I'll get choked up now. It's not going to be your bosses that are standing around you. It's
Right.
going to be your family. And
Yep.
don't get." And 4 months later, it was my sisters and my mom and I. So it unfortunately rang very true very quick. So I always tried to be there, but work was I worked the hours I had to work to get things done. uh, these later generations, and I think a lot of this was accelerated during COVID, but they are more interested in a quality of life, and I can't necessarily blame them. But I think speaking that language and understanding between the generations is something that you're challenged with.
Hmm.
When you're bringing in younger workers, we have some younger guys on our team that are just amazing. One kid that came out of the Navy, and I mean, he just works his heart out. So there are those amongst there, but that is one issue that I think. As the older generations are still in the industry, we need to find a way to engage that generation. And I
Right.
think we can. But then the other thing, is something you and I have talked about at length, is, you know, AI, as much as everybody talks about it, we're seeing things now that is totally going to change everything. And whoever holds the secret to how you get AI to apply to something like, and this is less so on the repair station side, but certainly on the distribution side, parts are a commodity in our industry. It's worth whatever someone needs on any given day. And not new parts, hardware, blah blah blah. But when we're coming to rotables, it's a commodity. How much is that worth? Well, do you need how who needs it, and how many are out there? I don't know who's going to crack that safe open when it comes to AI, but whoever does will change this industry. I don't want to say for the better or for the worse. I have my opinions, and those are clouded by as long as I've been in the industry. But it's going to change things. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean that's why Oyster's going great, and I'm loving it. But I split my time with this company, Sales Patriot, too, because I can't watch the AI go by. So much of our world in parts trading is data entry and all that, and so if you didn't have to do all of that, and you could minimize the research, like think about what you could do, like with people. Like I'm hoping that we get back to, in a weird way, let me try to even formulate this. So 20 years ago it was like more relationship driven than anything, and then we've gotten into a lot of volume where it's just data. And I'm hoping that this next generation gets back to the relationship, because the automation of data, like that would be a cool cycle, you know.
Eh, that's a great hope. I'll put it that way,
Yeah, that
because
would be neat.
it is, and I think well, I'll talk about my kids. I think my kids recognize now that the relationship is what is key to anything we do, no matter what we do, no matter what. And I've been through it all. I mean, when I started, ILS was the old whisper writer with the you put your phone down. I mean, we had no internet, and so relationships were important. As technology caught up with our industry and it got easier, and we had email, and it got easy to lose sight of the fact that I know, frick, Robert can take care of this. I'll give him a call, and even if he's on vacation or sleeping in the middle of the night, he'll find me this part, or he'll get it out of his shop for him. That still matters, and it has to matter, because the quality should be a level playing field in our industry. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But customer service and supporting a customer uh, isn't a level playing field. And again, that's where some of these conglomerates now that are buying up everybody, they lose sight of what the
Oh
mission
yeah.
is. The mission is taking care of the
Yeah.
customer. I think there could be a marriage between AI and that taking care of a customer and not losing that touch. But I mean, there is so much data thrown at us every day that our phones. I mean, I can run my whole shop on the software right on my phone. These things were supposed to make our lives easier, and what they've done is just made it easier to work 24 hours a day. So But you're right. If we can marry the two and the relationship and technology work hand in hand, then yeah, that again, that's someone smart's out there is going to crack that code, and so
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Well, I only asked 3 questions and you talked for 35 minutes, which isn't uncharacteristic, so
I heard the
any,
record was 40. Can we go another 6 minutes and I
I
could?
know, right? Let's,
Oh,
anyway. Robert, I have adored you since I met you, even though we ran in parallels up until 2020. And it's good to have you on, and thank you.
no,
And
thank you.
it's going to be fun watching your boys continue on while you're still there, of course. And I just love your story. So let's keep rocking it.
You got it, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate everything you're doing in the industry as well, Jeff. So
All right, take care.
thank you.
Bye.